Hello. So nice to see so many familiar faces here. So today, as you probably haven't heard enough talk about the AI yet, we will get more into the AI in the classroom. And most of you probably know, maybe those who don't live in Estonia permanently don't know that already for a year now, we've had this AI Leap initiative in Estonia that was actually announced by President Karis in his speech in 2025 in February. So now it's been already more than a year, and I personally have to say that when this was introduced to the wider audience, I was one of the people who was slightly pessimistic about it, because it seemed like the group of people don't really know what the task is and what the aim is. But just recently, there was this sort of introduction to what has been done in a year, and I was absolutely impressed, which is a very big applause coming from an Estonian person. So Ivo Visak, you have been running this initiative for a year now, and can you tell us what Estonia is doing differently from other countries?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for coming here to listen to us. I would say one of the core ideas throughout this program has been that it's not a tech program, it's an education program that mostly just involves a lot of tech. And through this framing, I think immediately one of the core things was that when something is not educationally purposefully created, then we don't really need it for the education system. So technology for the sake of technology has never really worked in schools. And I think one of the great things about on how we started was that most of our team had a bit of a critical mindset toward all of it also. So throughout this year, there were multiple hurdles we had to jump over. So first hurdle is how to even give forward a program that's very closely tied to ideas that the smartest people in the world don't still know how to talk about it. But at the same time, we know that we really have to support our teachers, we have to support AI literacy, and through that, we have now through online courses, through specific courses that we do around Estonia, through professional learning communities training. We have trained around 5,000 Estonian high school teachers, plus we have been supporting them with both OpenAI and Google licenses, so making sure that the teachers do get currently the best available tech that they can, and showcase them also the moments where they can find support for their work. Plus, of course, the student track where we've been doing both listening to the students' worries, something that Mihkel in our team is closely monitoring. And another part is that we have been working with Associate Professor Jaan Aru's team from Stanford University. We are working with Scale Initiative, where Professor Susanna Loeb is leading her group, plus also James Donovan from OpenAI, who is leading the cognitive outcomes group there. And through that, we have put together the biggest longitudinal research that is currently happening in the world when it comes to the topic of are tutoring models really efficient for teaching and learning, and do they really support learning skills? So there's a lot of good things to still come out of it, and currently around 12,000 students are using our tool, and we see around 4,000 to 5,000 unique users per week. So in Estonian case, these numbers are very big.
I absolutely find this research probably the most impressive part of this, what Estonia is currently doing, and we're actually impacting the whole world. But Meri-Kris, so you joined 2 weeks later than Ivo as a Chief Data Officer, and now, as Ivo already mentioned, there's like 19,000 accounts being generated, and out of those, 60% have been activated.
Yeah.
And we call this Socratic AI tutor. Now it recently just was named by the students themselves, and it's called ITI. So how does this ITI help Estonian kids learn?
Yeah, I think when it comes to comparing what would be the vanilla model or other commercial models available in the market and our solution, then we started with defining what does learning mean, because all the chat-based systems are actually optimized for task execution and completion, not for learning. So together with our research team, we had to figure out what does learning mean, and for learning to happen, there are a few things that need to be present. Firstly, student has to be motivated or know why they're learning. Secondly, the knowledge needs to be linked to their pre-existing knowledge. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, there needs to be effort involved. And this is really the biggest problem when it comes to AI and education at the moment, is that a lot of students are delegating effort and learning to AI, and this is something we wanted to avoid in the design of the Socratic AI tutor, which asks you questions about your motivation, also your pre-existing knowledge, and helps you through guiding questions, but it doesn't do the work for you.
But at the same time, this effort seems to be the part that many kids are actually scared of. And we have so many, well, I personally, I don't know why, I don't want to say it's sort of a gender thing, but what I've seen is it's mostly teenage girls who tend to be more see the more negative aspects of AI, especially concerning, first of all, the environment, and second of all, how we sort of get ourselves motivated. So how do we, you probably have all these Q&A answers ready for these people who question AI, so what do you usually tell them?
I mean, we as a foundation, I love KPIs, I'm a data person, right? We don't have a KPI to maximize AI usage for teachers and students. We want to maximize intentional usage. So what we can do as a foundation is really to educate teachers, to educate students in how to beneficially use this technology. But if a student doesn't want to learn, then there's no technology that would support learning in a meaningful way.
But can you bring out some maybe best use cases? So Ivo, you yourself are still operating as a teacher in the school in Saaremaa, where you used to be the headmaster. So what have you seen, how have you seen kids use it in a positive way, where you actually see an impact?
Yeah, so there are plenty, and there are plenty for teachers' cases also, but let's start with students. So maybe one of the good cases is, and it sounds kind of interesting, but yeah, students often use our tool together with their teachers' materials to prep for a test, for example, because it's a good test prepper. Now, saying that prepping for tests and pedagogy that's built around testing, that's a whole other conversation, and deeply pedagogical conversation. But when it comes to test preparedness, prepping for test, then these kind of Socratic models work really well for it, because it asks so many questions from so many different angles, and it never gets tired of listening to your wrong answers. So it will support you in finally getting to the right answers. And in tests, those of you who have been in Estonian school system know that there is usually one correct answer. Another example when it comes to students, we have been more and more looking into the possibilities of integrating and making sure that informatics teachers, together with their students, also have access through ChatGPT to Codex possibilities. So you can use Codex with the student tool also. We see that inside the student tool, the most used app is bringing in info from GitHub. So we see that it's being used quite a lot. So there are hopefully future tech people growing up already with quite a bit of knowledge on how this kind of tech works. Now, when it comes to teachers, one amazing example, and I think I'm really happy for it, is that in Estonia there is currently also an ongoing reform of all the Estonian schools that used to have some percentage of education still happening in Russian also. So all of it is moving only to Estonian teaching, but at the same time, there are huge problems in understanding, do these teachers have enough materials, and enough materials that they are in very differentiated on the language knowledge of the students. So these tools, they are, in the end of the day, they are language models, and what they do really well, they work really well with languages. So a lot of teachers, especially helping students with very different language levels, have found a lot of support from using these tools. So, but of course, teachers also use it for prepping schoolwork, for prepping good questions for students, prepping basically everything. And we see that we started with around 50% of Estonian high school teachers. From the data we have from 2025 research, around 50% of Estonian high school teachers having some sort of a co-work together with AI. Now with AI Leap, with the tech we've given from OpenAI side and Google side, the percentage is now close to 80%. So we have moved this needle that at least 80% of Estonian teachers have sort of looked into the system and tried to understand it and tried to do something in it. And I would like to say that AI literacy is 100% not only about understanding how this tech works, but to talk fluently also about the critical side and the positive side. You kind of have to play around with these tools a bit. So this is a good thing that more and more high school teachers have tried to use the tools.
So for those in the audience who don't live in Estonia and don't know that, well, for 30 years now, we've had this sort of dual education system where we have Estonian-speaking school and Russian-speaking schools, and finally now this reform is being conducted, and all kids have to start learning in Estonian, starting from stages. So how have these AI tools helped us with this? As I understand, 2 weeks ago we had, you had the AI Leap Foundation had a big hackathon where many of the solutions were actually directed exactly at what you just said about this language learning. But since it's mostly from, as we know, these kids who are now in the process of this reform, and it's not the fault of the kids that this decision hasn't been done earlier, so they literally have 2 school days in 1 school day. So they sit in the classroom and then they go home and start making sense of everything they heard in the classroom earlier. So how can ITI come to the rescue?
Yeah, so multiple things. So ITI mostly only wants to speak in Estonian, but it again, it doesn't get tired of you speaking with it. And the it part is important.
Unlike the teacher.
Yeah, teachers can get sometimes a bit nervous when you ask one and the same thing hours on end. So it never gets tired. But at the same time, what I'm super happy about that came out from the presidential hackathon also is that a lot of the teachers from Tallinn, from Ida-Virumaa area, they put together teams that were really working on supporting their colleagues and supporting teachers in their neighboring schools in, again, differentiating the materials, making sure that the workflows, the writing workflows, so for example, we have people here from Narva Eesti Gymnasium right here, so they had some excellent ideas also on writing aid that would support students with writing aid on how to make sure that this kind of Estonian language learning, or basically, in the end of the day, whatever kind of language learning, is supportive. And again, that these things, there is always something you can turn to when the school day is over. I don't know, your parents don't have to make sure that you have a private teacher or a private tutor. It is, in the end of the day, if these are government decisions, And when these are government's decisions, they also have to support students. So I think that large language models, especially in language studies, this is also a data we have. It is one of the most popular tools amongst language teachers. So language teachers also create a lot of custom GPTs or custom GEMs when it comes to Sprachdiploma or Cambridge assessment exam systems. So language teachers do love these tools.
But I think one of the, like from our data as well, we see that for students, language learning is one of the most common use cases for going to ITI. And I think the most powerful or the most beautiful thing about it is that you get a language coach that doesn't judge you. So if you're in an environment where maybe it's hard for you to find partners to practice with, then AI is such a great tool for that. And especially when we're talking about this integration period that is happening, then and we can see it in the data that it's already put into practice.
And it's not very common in Estonia, not just in the classroom, but overall in our society to give praise to other people, especially students. So that definitely makes a difference. But I was wondering, so Meri-Kris, you as a data officer or data scientist, so dealing with a large quantities of data, Estonian language is not a very big language in itself, but I know that you work closely with the Estonian language board. So how can we turn this tiny language of ours into a possible gold mine? Is there such a possibility?
I don't know if we can turn it into a gold mine, but I think we can do our best to not turn it into a coal mine. And there are our focus is together with the Estonian Language Institute is first we need to understand the current situation. So measuring, we don't know what we don't measure, and we can't improve what we don't know. So this is really where the main work has currently gone into. Can we successfully evaluate different model performances against multiple dimensions of Estonian language, but also cultural aspects? And once we know that, like for example, that no commercial model is currently really fit to be used in medical environment or medical domain, then we can start planning to create new quality language corpuses that we can use to train open source models, but also share with our partners so they can do their own fine-tuning on the commercial models as well.
I wish we all had our own AI when we went to the doctors and get this sort of what the doctors usually tell us, and we all need some sort of a translation there.
Maybe I will quickly add, so Estonian Language Institute, we do quite a bit of collaboration with them, and currently they have this really smart guy working for them also, Krister Kruusmaa, it will be released soon. We can't talk all about it, but sorry, Krister, I'm going to talk a bit about it. So Estonian Language Institute will soon release Estonian language dashboard to all of the models that are publicly available. So we're talking not only about the things that US market provides us or what the French are providing, but also what's coming out of China or elsewhere from Europe. And like Meri-Kris said, it does measure both the Estonian language quality in them. It measures the Estonian language quality when it also comes to assurance against propaganda. So how much does it pull data from websites that we are not interested of showcasing to our students? So RT and other very bad propaganda sites you can get from Russia nowadays. So we are closely looking into also that it has the pedagogical component in it, and that's sort of where we are supporting the work that Krister is doing. So when you see Krister in the coming days, or if you know Krister, then you can ask him. He just recently told me that I shouldn't talk about it yet. But when you see him, you should ask him when it's released, because it's really it's a very important tool for us to come out. And another really important thing is to make sure that Estonian researchers in University of Tartu and TalTech mostly can work with the Estonian language data. A very big problem right now that we have is that there's still a lot of good data that, for example, professors like Meelis Kull or Mark Fischel, they can't use it, or there are a lot of asterisks behind using it because it's heavily copyrighted. And I completely understand the copyright side, because copyright is the thing that made Europe rich. But at the same time, we kind of have to make sure that the small models we train are good.
Okay, we also have a few questions from the audience, and there's one coming from Iceland. And obviously, Estonians are always very happy when there's somebody, a country that's even smaller than ours. But I know that Iceland also is quite advanced in AI, but the question implies that we admire how Estonia executes education innovation. Our systems move slower. What concrete steps can countries like ours, meaning Iceland, can take to accelerate AI adoption the way Estonia has?
I have a call every month with Josh Klein from Iceland. Josh is running the Icelandic government program where they're training teachers, all of the Icelandic teachers, which is around 7,000 or 8,000. Sorry if I mistake the number. And they're doing cooperation together with Google and Anthropic. So I think Iceland already is doing a few steps more than I see all around Europe on a more broader general picture. So I would say that Iceland is already doing, at least inside school, they're doing important work in already supporting teachers in AI literacy. The bigger question is, how can we make sure that all of the European Union and European Economic Zone understands that we have to, as an area, as the European Union and the European Economic Zone, as an area, we have to make sure that we are good or really good in some of these fields. And well, we try to show the light then.
Okay, and as we're running out of time, maybe, Meri-Kris, you want to take these last two questions combined. So considering that AI Leap is kind of like a startup in itself, so what do you think have been the bad ideas that have failed, and what have you learned from these mistakes?
Be honest, Meri-Kris.
Be honest.
Be honest.
If we think about AI Leap as a startup, then the mistakes are pretty common startup mistakes. We tried to do too much all at once, which means that some of our activities were lacking focus, and we were just spending too much time on the things that didn't bring too much value. But I think we've done most things really right. That we've been focusing on teachers first, that we treat ourselves not as a tech platform or a tech startup, but an educational one. So it's really about advancing learning, not technology. And I think, for the next years, we should just work on having more focus. Does it make sense, Ivo?
Yeah, it does. Maybe working with 5 or 4 companies, we should rather focus on 1 or 2.
Thank you so much. We're right out of time. Thank you, Ivo. Thank you, Meri-Kris. You're free to go.
Thank you.
I will stay on for a few more seconds.
Thank you.
Because, as we said earlier, 2 weeks ago, there was the so-called President's AI Leap Hackathon. I can see 2 main organizers here, and I've heard a lot of praise about this hackathon. Some really useful products came out of it, which I really personally hope will find its way to the classroom, or maybe some of them already have. So, and we will hear from the 3 winners of the hackathon right now. So each of them will have 3 minutes to pitch, as they did during the hackathon. And for those of you who have pockets full of money, you can invest in all of them right now. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Misha, and I'm one of 7,000 teachers in Estonia who do physics or math or chemistry. And I used to struggle to make this subject attractive to students. For example, how many of you remember something from physics classes? Maybe Newton's law? No? Ohm's law? Oh, very good. Very good. But normally, these subjects are very difficult to students. They think, oh, it's not related to our life. It's like science, not necessary. But that leads them to conclusion that it is not important. We don't take this career choice. And even if they do, they fall out with chances of 50%. And that means that engineering jobs remain unfilled. And we did some research and come up with a solution that application with AI takes in teacher requirements, and then produces workshop, and students go for each flow, which adapts to the mistakes, habits, and so on. And it integrates physics, chemistry, math, geography, biology into one coherent flow. So teacher with 5 clicks says, OK, I want physics, I want to add some chemistry. Here is the workshop plan. And students on their mobile phone see what to do next. OK, we mix and then press submit, so they go further. And depending on their choices, computer says them, OK, let's reiterate this again. So it is like an individualized path for them. And this brings value to students, so this is more meaningful learning. It saves time for teachers, and schools teach science in a meaningful way. And we have all necessary competences, production, software engineering, and marketing. We test that with schools, and then we go for private teachers, maybe corporations, and individuals, maybe parents who would like to teach the kids. And our vision is that 30% of schools in this country will be covered with our application. All these workshops will be quality checked and proven. So I think that your kids could enjoy that. Thank you very much.
I guess we can start. I was supposed to be someone introducing me, but I guess I'm the lucky one to introduce myself. My name is Mari. Together with the students and teachers, we built the tool Aita. And the problem that Aita deals with is that in Estonia, 17% of students study in their second language. And majority of them have a very basic understanding of Estonian, so it's a bit difficult, if you can imagine. So what our students and teachers did was basically a place where teachers can create materials to teach the students, because these materials don't exist right now. 17% of students need to learn mathematics, physics, languages, history, whatever, and we have 0 books, worksheets, whatever. All the materials assume that you're a native speaker. So the tool that teachers built this is right now only for Estonian language teachers, and it's tethered to the Estonian curriculum, it's tethered to the Estonian exam guidelines and regulations, and it's tethered to the language standards, including what words should be used, languages, language formation, etc. Now, our students who were in the hackathon thought they'll do a spin-off. They took a oral exam simulator and they made it for themselves, something that they want to use daily. Now, these tools are already used in the schools, 10 or more schools, and what was really surprising for us was that a lot of schools have approached us to ask us the access to this tool because it's such a huge problem in Estonia. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. The teachers say that this really helps them to do materials that are actually quality. They could do materials with AI before, but they had to spend like an hour to fix it. And interestingly, when teachers go to the classroom and ask students to use the oral language simulator, they find out that a couple of students are already using it, which means that it's spreading organically, not just inside schools, but across schools. There are also quite many European schools and institutions interested for us to adapt it to their format, and I guess that's it. I want to just say thank you to AI Leap for giving us that couple of days to give us the space to actually build a tool that really helps our daily lives. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eka, and this is my maths teacher, Mrs. Rohumaa. We calculated how much time she loses every single year purely on grading maths tests. 378 hours. That is time that is stolen from her family, and from her flower beds. We, at Red Pen, get rid of that 3. That is our value proposition. But why was that number so massive to begin with? This is a screenshot of what the teacher sees after uploading her grading matrix and the students' tests to our system. There's a lot going on here, so let's unpack it in 3 main things that take up the most time when grading tests, and what we at Red Pen do many times faster. First, we analyze the problem. We give the teacher an overview, and we solve through with a calculation error made in the first step, for example, so the teacher doesn't have to do that manually. Of course, we find the mistake, and we point it out clearly on the student's work, and we give personalized feedback. We do all of this with an accuracy rate of 97%. This makes it worthwhile for the teachers. When we're talking about the students, the main value we provide to them comes in the form of the feedback. And again, a very dense slide, but it is intentionally so because I want to demonstrate the difference between the few red markings that a teacher normally does and the in-depth analysis that AI has the energy to provide. I'm not blaming teachers for not doing this. If they have a class full of 40 students and half the people make the same mistake, it is not understandable to assume that she has the time to fully explain what went wrong on every test. What I want to say is that we go a step further. We don't say this is right, this is wrong. We explain it so the student doesn't make the same mistake again. And trust me, I know, I'm a student, and I just got back from my national math exam yesterday. Would have gone much better if we had been using Red Pen. And this brings me to our team. We have the perspective of a student, we have the perspective of a teacher. This means that we feel the pain. But we're also developers, so we know how to alleviate that pain. During the summer, we will be iterating based on user feedback. In the autumn, we will be piloting in schools. We already have 4 lined up. And in 2027, we will be scaling across the country. But when I'm talking about scale, well, it's not something Estonia is especially renowned for. Yeah, I'll give it to you. But when we're talking about international markets, such as the US, it's a completely different story. As many maths teachers in the US as there are people in Estonia. And this is a global problem. We will prove we can solve this in Estonia. There's nothing stopping us from going abroad in the future. But right now, let's give teachers back their time, because mine is up. Thank you.